Hello and welcome to Culture Vibes, the Federal special program in which we talk to writers and artists about their work. There is a new book, Rebellion in Verse, that talks about Tamil Bhakti Movement and how it sort of became a precursor to the Bhakti movement in the North. A fact that not too many of us in the North know. And joining me today is Mr. Raghavan Srinivasan, development professional and author of the book, which has been published by Penguin. Mr. Raghavan, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for making the time. The central argument of the book is that, the Bhakti movement, Tamil Bhakti movement, was, a precursor to the Bhakti movement in the North, which happened centuries later. So, could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, thank you, Naveed, for firstly inviting me to this show. Thank you so much. And you have started on the right track, because that is what distinguishes this book from other books. Mm-hmm. There are books on the Bhakti movement which sort of focuses a lot more on devotion. But this one talks about rebellion. Right. And like you rightly pointed out, in today's times, it is very important that this book has come out. I really enjoyed writing this. Mm-hmm. So coming to the point that how did the Bhakti movement spread from Tamil Nadu to other areas? Firstly, very few people know that the Bhakti movement had its origins in Tamil Nadu. They have heard about Meera's bhajans, they heard about Kabir's dohas, they heard about Guru Nanak. Mm-hmm. But really, that this is a long trend. This movement has continued for centuries with its core principles intact that very few people know. So that is one thing I have established in this. The Bhakti movement in the South started from the 6th to the 9th centuries. Most of the saints that we are talking about here, there were, many large number of saints. They all lived, most of them, between late 5th century and 9th century. In fact, during their lifetime, this entire corpus was not gathered together and made available to the people. Mm-hmm. It happened only later. And from there, the Bhakti movement spread to Karnataka, neighboring Karnataka, much later. Mm-hmm. Like you would have heard about Basavanna and the Lingayat movement. Yes. And then from there it spread to Maharashtra. Mm-hmm. And from Maharashtra it spread to many areas in the north, in the east. Right. So you can hear of Bhakti saints everywhere in Orissa, in West Bengal, in the northeast, talking the same language. They were all against casteism, they were all against dividing people, discriminating them on the basis of caste, on the basis of wealth, giving them or refusing access to temples because they belong to outcasts or belong to other religions. So this trend continued for quite a bit, and India produced a very scintillating array of Bhakti saints. Each one had their own appeal, their own way of communicating to the people, and they mixed songs with dance, but the basic idea was the same. Mm-hmm. Everyone should have access to God. Right. God is not a monopoly. He is not a monopoly of the higher castes or the Brahmins. You don't need anyone to approach God. You don't need an intermediary.
No intermediary required for...
So this is how it spread.
Right. And also there was something about the movement itself that suggested that it was not just about spirituality and yearning for, say divine itself, but also in so many ways a political, a cultural, a social kind of, outcome. Could you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yes, that is very important. And that is where I made a number of points here. Mm-hmm. See, one cannot deny that this movement is devotional. You cannot deny it. Right. It is religious. It worshipped and it developed iconography of various gods. Right. And the stories were based on the Puranas. So But a lot of people have written on that, and it is very evident, right? So I didn't want to write further on that.
Okay.
Rather, I wanted to talk about the socio-political changes that the Bhakti movement brought at that point in time. And it was a big churning when the Bhakti saints came up. In fact, it is because of the churning that they came up, and not, it is not the
Vice
saints
versa.
who produced the
Yeah.
churning.
Yeah.
Because there was a big kind of, in the, when empires were coming into being in the 6th century,
Right.
when the big Pallava empire was getting established. So then there were rigid structures, a huge difference in the distribution of wealth. There were increasingly richer and poorer sections.
Right.
Certain people benefited by the economic growth. So all this happened. And more importantly, the small-time artisans who lived in the villages, and also agriculturalists who tended to their farms, they could not survive anymore, because the cities were providing more opportunities, trade was flourishing, and so getting stuck in agriculture was no longer an option for them. So they moved to the cities, like today we find, still today.
The migration
Urbanization,
of
migration. A huge amount of people belonging to a particular state or a community settled down in another state.
Right.
So here it was from the villages to the cities. And when people settled down in the cities, there was a big void. Imagine, today Biharis settling in Tamil Nadu,
Yeah.
there is a void, because they have lost their kinship ties, they don't have that support they had with relatives. So they have to create something new there. That was what happened in Tamil Nadu. People who settled in the urban areas and started living in colonies of workers, artisans, carpenters,
Right.
fishermen. So they all had, they came up, and the demand for expressing their spirituality came up very
From
sharply. And that is when the saints jumped into the picture,
and wrote about
they could provide that void in spiritualism. The saints could provide, because the saints came from ordinary people, many of them.
Yeah, they all belong to like generally the marginalized sections of the society.
And I won't say all, because
but most of
most
them.
movements are led by the higher caste, even Buddhism and Jainism, you see. But then it gives space to people from all castes and other religions also. Here Buddhists join, Jains join, then other sects like Ajivikas,
Right.
then there are various Shaivite sects. So all these people sort of came together, and they evolved a path which was simple, easy access to the God. They didn't have to worry about performing elaborate rituals and sacrifices. Even if they didn't have any money in the pocket, all that they had to do was go and get some leaves and flowers and go straight to the God and offer for the worship. So that is what Bhakti demanded at that point in time.
Right.
Of course, today situation is different.
Yeah.
But at that time, anyone could access the temple, and there were many other features.
Right. But you also trace the whole movement to like the Sangam period, and it's interesting because that was also a period which saw a lot of developments in literature, and it's known for, in fact, Sangam literature is a very iconic chapter in the history of Tamil literature, and which has contributed a great deal to the literature of the world. And in what ways did Sangam literature become kind of a wellspring for the Bhakti movement?
Yeah, so I would say yes, it was a wellspring. At the same time, Bhakti movement had its own ideology, its own kind of
Right.
style and delivery of what it wanted to say.
Right.
Its own propagandists. So Sangam period, there were no empires yet. So it was people mixed with the tribal origin and pastoral communities.
Right.
And there were cities, of course. Cities were existed, but all around them were all kinds of people.
Right.
So, Sangam period, a lot of literature exists. A lot of literature has been destroyed, but still a considerable corpus is there.
Is intact.
And broadly, they talk about two things. One is about the king and his victories and his valor, and the other is about the people, their life, their
Problems and
problems of love, separation, problems of their own occupation, so on. So it is divided into external and internal kind of thing, and very nicely done with a lot of embellishments. The stories happen in different, in areas and different environments, in different geographies, in different cultural environments. So each one has a flavor, and so they bring all that flavor to this Sangam poetry.
right.
And Sangam poetry was loved, and people could relate to it because they were sung by bards who were ordinary people. They were not very rich. This thing they sung for
So the what they wrote about was the concerns of the ordinary people, and they could relate to it.
Yes, a lot of historical background could be got from the Sangam literature,
Right.
because one could understand what was Tamil society at that time. But when it slowly evolved, and there was a considerable gap, after that.
But why was
Towards-
there so much gap? It took centuries for the movement to finally come to
Towards the end of the
stage where
towards the the latter part of the Sangam period, then there were a lot of narratives written. There were epics like Silapadigaram
right.
and all that, and widely influenced by Buddhist and Jain authors, and including other Tamil authors. So there was a lot of development after that, right into the 2nd and the 3rd century. Between the 4th and the 6th, it is not very clear
Okay.
what happened, because there is a shortage of inscriptions, material. People are trying to still put together what happened. So probably it was a period when Buddhists were dominating. So by the time
And
it came,
Jainism as well.
Jainism as well, they were very powerful and very had a big influence among the people. So towards the end,
Right.
that is when the Bhakti movement started, somewhere in the 6th century. So what divides the Sangam period from the Bhakti movement is the economic development,
Right.
the social changes that were brought about, that urbanization, looking at the entire world as a market. So all these things happened, empires were established, administrative procedures were rigid,
Right.
law, court, all this came into being. So it is a different period that we are looking at during the Bhakti movement.
Absolutely. So in so many ways, it was very radical, very revolutionary. But also revolutionary was the fact that they chose. They did not choose Sanskrit, but they chose Tamil, and that was a departure from much of the literature that was being produced at the time. So, what do you think this decision was? Was it? Do you also see it as a political act, choosing Tamil over Sanskrit?
Yes, in a way you can say that. Initially, during the initial Sangam corpus, it is all in Tamil.
Right.
And very well written.
Right.
So towards when you come to the epics a bit later on, then there is a mixture of Sanskrit and Tamil, and there are a lot of Sanskrit gods, North Indian influence.
Yeah.
That is the time when festivals and things like that. So by the time of the 6th century, the Sanskritization was quite advanced. Even the Pallava inscriptions were written in Sanskrit,
Right.
in a Brahmi script. So then there was a lot of, expectation from the people. Like particularly when you see artisans and carpenters moving to the cities and getting involved in production. So they could not access the Sanskrit texts.
Right.
They could not do rituals, which were expensive. Rituals, the constellations and stars have to match,
Right.
and they have to be performed by very experienced priests. all these were beyond the pockets of the ordinary people.
Right.
So what they did was that when looking at all these things, how do you then reconcile the changes? You know, when Sanskrit is being used in the royal court,
Right.
and it is not reaching the people, and it is not meeting the aspirations of the people, and people don't have access to their own spirituality. So then a huge churning takes place.
Right.
And that is when Tamil again becomes a medium of poetry and speech.
Let's talk about the women poets of the time. What was it about their poetry that sort of that struck a chord with the masses then?
Yeah, that's a very good question. When we look at their poetry, we cannot look at it independently of the situation that they were women. What were they thinking?
Yeah.
What was driving them? So these things have to be understood. And in that way, Andal and Karaikkal Ammaiyar, the two of them who wrote a lot of poetry,
Right.
it was the brilliant poetry. And today, even today, they are popular. And people remember they wrote. And people keep repeating that every day in their house. So this kind of poetry which attracts people, which touches their heart, which touches their sensibilities, that comes from a woman who has gone through life and who has seen that you cannot be a woman in the regular sense of the word to come up, to do what you want. You cannot be just a housewife. You cannot bear children and then expect them to grow and leave. So these two poets, Andal and Karaikkal, they had very different history.
Right.
And it is two different case studies, I would say. Andal was born into a poor, she was adopted by a poor Brahmin priest who was also one saint.
Her story is
her-
very, very interesting. Her story is very interesting.
Yeah. And her expectations were beyond this, regular kind of thing. She refused to get married. She refused to live like other women. She created poetry. And then she demanded that she will marry only God.
Yeah.
So it was at that point in time a very, a very bold kind of statement. And she established that.
Yeah.
Karaikkal Ammaiyar is, completely from the other end of the spectrum. She came from a rich family. Her husband was a merchant. And she lived in a city. So she had to leave. She said that, no, I am not going to continue this way. Because I have certain kind of spirituality in me. I want to write poetry. So nobody can question me on that.
Right.
But then beauty and wealth came in the way. She gave up both. She turned herself into a ghoul, and she gave up all the wealth that she had. So she just traveled to various places, sung songs on Shiva, and so through that she established that if you want, you can be independent.
Right.
Of course, you cannot change society at that point in time. You have to sort of bend yourself a bit and do what you want still, So that is the message, that it was not that women and men and women were equal in that period. There was a big differentiation and big discrimination against women. Women cannot even come out and forget about writing poetry and being a saint,
Right.
revered by millions. But to achieve that status, then you have to be an extraordinary person, much more than a man, a male saint, as a saint. So she fought against all that, and it is good that they are revered as much as male saints, and other male saints talked about them, wrote about them in their poetry.
Right.
So it was a kind of an acceptance that they can be a part of this this community of saints.
Saints, and the women also belong to that.
Yeah.
Also, a very interesting aspect to it all is the fact that you mentioned somewhere in the book that Andal's poetry, in a way, foreshadowed much of what Meera herself wrote in her poetry.
She said that no, I am not going to continue this way because I have certain kind of spirituality in me. I want to write poetry, so nobody can question me on that.
Right.
But then beauty and wealth came in the way. She gave up both. She turned herself into a ghoul, and she gave up all the wealth that she had. So she just traveled to various places, sung songs on Shiva, and so through that she established that if you want, you can be independent.
Right.
Of course, you cannot change society at that point in time. You have to sort of bend yourself a bit and do what you want still, So that is the message, that it was not that women and men and women were equal in that period. There was a big differentiation and big discrimination against women. Women cannot even come out and forget about writing poetry and being a saint, revered by millions. But to achieve that status, then you have to be an extraordinary person, much more than a man, a male saint, as a saint. So she fought against all that, and it is good that they are revered as much as male saints, and other male saints talked about them, wrote about them in their poetry.
Right.
So it was a kind of an acceptance that they can be a part of this this community of saints.
Would you say that Andal's poetry, in a way, foreshadowed the poetry of Meera Bai, and in what ways do it?
See, I'm not really sure whether there was that kind of connection.
Even though the
between
centuries
Meera
apart.
and Andal, because they're centuries apart.
Yeah.
And but Meera was definitely influenced by the other movements taking place around her. She didn't get ideas suddenly. She could look at the other movement. Definitely she would have been influenced.
Right.
Maybe she heard about Andal. Maybe she heard about the Tamil Bhakti Movement. We don't know. That is not recorded.
Okay.
But the style with which she started, her bhajans and that love for life, that confidence that, I can do what I want.
Yeah.
I believe in this. I have a right to express myself.
Right.
And I don't need to adhere to standard,
Idioms of the time.
things, and I don't need to marry. She was married anyway, but she was a princess. But she gave up all that because she wanted to be with
pursue
again.
spiritual.
So being with God is, you can say, symbolic. That it is a departure from your daily life. It is a statement that you are saying that now I want to do what I want.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about the royal patronage. And here, since you have also written a book on Cholas, and I think especially the biography of Rajaraja Chola, and I wanted to ask you about the fact that, he was somebody who actually was, royally into this in a way that, he was somebody who promoted the Bhakti movement and gave a bold flip to the movement. So in what ways did he do so, and what was it about the movement that sort of appealed to him?
Till the Chola period, the Bhakti corpus was not yet compiled. Parts of it were compiled, but there were a lot of things lying around. So during the Chola period, when the entire thing of constructing massive temples came up, then the temples also required a kind of ideological base. So he built massive temples, but he realized that it requires, a movement to back it. And like all good rulers, intelligent rulers, he took advantage of the movement. And made it larger than life, beyond this thing. He compiled not only the corpus of poems, but he also set the, later on, other Chola rulers set somebody to gather everything into one hagiography.
Right.
So all this helped in propagating the Bhakti movement, and today what we have is all from that period. Otherwise, everything would have been lost.
So this idea of chronicling the story of Nanas and Alvas, you write somewhere that it's a project that is very, very urgent, very necessary in the times that we're living in. What was your impulse as a writer to sort of write this book at a time
I
like this?
felt actually that, today, if you look at today's society, we are fighting against the same things that the saints fought against. There is caste discrimination. There is discrimination by one human being against another. There is still, I would say that 3 or 4 things came up very sharply to me. One, if people get good quality education at affordable cost, then this whole thing of people getting marginalized and not knowing what is happening, not able to raise their voice, will vanish. And that is what the saints did by educating the people, going among them, propagating their works among the people and telling them, so that people took up.
Right.
And in that, poetry is a very good medium, poetry and dance, that is important. So that made a big difference, because today you can see that in temples, you have to pay 10,000 rupees, 1 lakh to get front seat.
Right.
And stand in the queue for hours if you don't have money.
Right.
So there is discrimination in access to God. And today you cannot access God without a priest sitting there,
Yeah.
without doing puja. So these are all some things which came up. So rituals, sacrifices, and the question of language, one's own language, people's language, and the use of poetry, and love for human beings. That thing that we are working for a society where there is no discrimination, where men and women are equal, everyone has to be respected. So that is a very important thing. If you look at what the poets have written, they have written some of the leading poets among the Nayanars and the Alvars have written about other saints who are also Nayanars, but who belong to the marginalized caste, like hunters and fishermen and all that. And
Right.
they have set a good example by praising these poems. They said that how well they have written.
At a time like this, when there is a lot of bigotry happening and there is appropriation of these saint poets, do you see that the essence of their work has been lost, and that what we are focusing on the person and not the message so much?
Yeah, to one level, the saints have been now reduced to statues and temples, and their verses are remembered by rote. Nobody remembers really about the history of an Andanar who was an outcast, or a Kannappar, that on the cover you have a hunter. They don't know the history.
Right.
They don't know really the history of Andal or Karaikkal Ammaiyar.
Yeah.
They just repeat the poems. They attend festivals. They gather around every year to celebrate the saints, and they do puja to the statues of saints. Normally, in many temples, you will find that the main deity, if you near the main deity or at the side, you have all this. In Shaivite temples, you have these Nayanars, and Vaishnavite temples, you have the Alvars. But they become only statues that way. The message is lost.
Yeah.
And that is what I have tried to revive here.
Well, on that note, Raghavan, it was a pleasure having you. I'm sure readers, those who pick this book, are going to take away a lot of learning from these poets, and about social justice, about equality, about how one can access the divine without needing any intermediary of sort. So thank you so much. It was a pleasure having you.
Thank you so much.